The first scream of metal echoed across the sky like a dying star. Elias Ward presses back against the vibrating wall of the drop pod as it hurled through a tunnel of purple clouds. Sparks streaked past the window. Heat wrapped around the capsule like a liquid furnace. His heartbeat hammered louder than the alarms. The overseers of Verith had promised a normal arrival, a ceremonial landing, a peaceful introduction. They lied. The planet below pulled him in like a hungry giant. The pod shook, hard enough that his teeth clicked together. Elias felt the atmosphere rip like wet fabric around the descending metal shell. A voice spoke inside his helmet, smooth and almost melodic. Human specimen Elias Ward. Impact is imminent. Brace with full strength. He took a breath. Hot, metallic, thick with adrenaline. He locked his arms against the restraints and squeezed his eyes shut. The world slammed into him. A shock wave blasted through the pod. Light flickered. Gravity spun sideways. Then everything stopped. Smoke drifted around him in whispering ribbons as the pod's hatch hissed open. Cold air surged into his lungs, sharp as glass. Elias stepped out and froze. The alien world of Velarau spread out like a dream built from fire and nightmares. Floating islands drifted above the horizon like broken pieces of a shattered moon. Forests of silver trees glittered under a turquoise sky. Wide rivers of luminous red water flowed in serpentine curves far below, and at the crater's edge stood the Verithians. Tall, thin, skin like polished obsidian, eyes glowing with quiet blue fire. Each one carried the air of ancient power. Their leader, Aryan Vass, stepped forward. "Human," he said, his voice vibrating through the air itself. "You are the first of your species to set foot on Velarau. You are here because your biology carries a resilience that our people lost long ago. You are here to restore life to this dying world. You are here to prove that humanity possesses worth." Elias felt a tremor in his chest. Not fear, something sharper, something that rose inside him like a blade. "I am not here to be a breeding tool," Elias said slowly. "I am here because humanity survives everything. Humanity adapts. Humanity fights back." The Verithians blinked in unison, surprised. Aryan tilted his head. "You speak boldly. But Velarau will break any who approach with arrogance. Then it will try," Elias answered. A sound rolled across the sky like distant thunder, a rippling, a vibration, a pulse that shook the bones inside his body. Aryan's expression darkened. "The planet has awakened to your presence," he said. "The primordial guardians move." Elias looked around sharply. The ground shifted under his feet. Silver trees bent. Branches snapped. The air thickened, pressing inward like a living wall. Shapes emerged from the far ridge. Massive, colossal, creatures built from stone, molten light, and ancient fury. Their bodies cracked open with glowing magma veins. Their eyes burned like newborn suns. Aryan whispered, "The Guardians believe all foreign blood is a threat. If they reach you, the ritual fails. The planet dies, and you die with it." "So what does that mean?" Elias asked. "It means you must survive the trials," Aryan said. "It means that the planet will test your endurance, your strength, and your worth. It means you must show Velarau that humans are not prey." The ground roared as the first Guardian began to sprint toward them. Elias's pulse surged like a detonating star. Heat washed over him. The alien sun glared down, scorching the top of his helmet. He stepped forward, planting his feet firmly on the trembling earth. His hands clenched into fists. His breath steadied. He stared directly at the charging Titan, and something inside him responded, a primal certainty, a human spark, a whisper in the back of his mind that had carried the species across ice ages, wars, plagues, and extinction events. Run? No. Stand. Fight. Endure. Aryan's voice rose sharply behind him. "Human, you cannot confront a Guardian. Their bodies are forged from planet core energy." Elias did not look back. He stepped closer to the edge of the crater. Heat spilled from the Guardian steps like waves rolling off a molten sea. "Humanity faced storms stronger than this," Elias said, "and we did not break then." His heart thundered. The Guardian lifted an arm the size of a tower. Elias crouched. Ready? The Varethians gasped. Arian tried to rush forward, but the air turned solid around him, stopping him mid-step. The planet itself was watching. The Guardian swung, and Elias leaped. He felt the wind tear past his ears. He felt his muscles scream. He felt pure determination propel him upward like a rocket of flesh and bone. He struck the Guardian's arm. A shock wave exploded outward. Dust rose in a spiraling cloud. Elias slid down the giant's molten forearm as the beast staggered backward. His palms burned. His muscles roared with agony. His lungs felt like they were swallowing fire. But he stayed on his feet. Arian stared at him, stunned. You struck a Guardian, the alien leader whispered, and you remained standing. Elias wiped blood from his knuckles and stared at the beast that now hesitated, unsure. Tell Velarau, Elias said, voice hard as steel, that humanity does not kneel, not for monsters, not for planets, not for gods. The Guardian bellowed in frustration, and more shapes began to rise from the horizon. Dozens, hundreds, a tidal wave of ancient titans awakening from centuries of slumber. The sky darkened, the ground shook, the air vibrated with power older than civilizations. Arian finally found his voice. Human, this is only the first trial. Elias stepped forward again, staring at the rising army of Guardians with unblinking determination. Good, he said. He cracked his neck, flexed his shoulders, raised his fists. Because humanity never wins the easy way. The Guardians roared. The ground quaked beneath Elias as he sprinted straight into the sea of towering Guardians. Each step left scorch marks and craters in the red-tinged soil. The air burned in his lungs, thick with ash and alien pollen that pricked his throat. Dust and sparks filled the sky, and the suns of Velarau shimmered through the haze like twin molten eyes. He could feel the vibrations of the massive creatures with every heartbeat, a rhythm that was at once terrifying and exhilarating. Each Guardian moved with deliberate, unstoppable weight, and yet Elias saw their hesitation. The faint flicker of recognition that he, a single human, refused to be just another shadow beneath their colossal presence. His first target loomed ahead, a Guardian built from jagged obsidian and molten veins, its eyes glowing with the fury of the planet's core. Elias dodged a fist the size of a small building, rolling across fractured terrain, the impact sending a shockwave that shattered trees and scattered boulders like pebbles. Pain exploded in his ribs, but he pushed through it. Humans did not bend. Humans endured. Elias climbed a fractured rock outcrop and leaped onto the Guardian's arm, gripping the glowing surface with hands raw and bleeding. Sparks danced along his palms as he slid down the sinewy veins of living magma. Every nerve in his body screamed against him, but his mind was razor-sharp. Calculation amidst chaos, instinct in the storm. That was humanity's gift. That was what no machine, no alien species, no ancient Guardian could predict. The Guardian roared, and the sound rattled the sky itself, sending Elias tumbling into the dust. He rolled, landing in a crouch, shaking off the sting of his scraped skin and burning muscles. Around him, the other Guardians hesitated, sensing the defiance of creatures smaller, weaker, and yet unbreakable. Elias breathed hard, feeling the taste of blood and dust, but the fire in his chest did not waver. He was not here to survive. He was here to conquer. The next wave of Guardians surged forward, their footsteps creating tremors that threatened to swallow entire valleys. Elias dashed between them, weaving through their legs like a shadow born of lightning. He kicked at molten veins, struck at joints, and found moments to exploit their sluggish, colossal bodies. Each Guardian that staggered, each hesitation that cracked his composure, filled Elias with a surge of audacious confidence. The planet's challenge was brutal, yet it underestimated the human capacity for improvisation, courage, and cunning. Arian Vast floated above the battlefield, his glowing blue eyes wide with astonishment. Human! You manipulate the Guardian's energy as if it bends to your will. Your species remarkable. Elias shot him a brief glare, not pausing, not stopping for words. Praise was meaningless when the storm was still raging. Lightning arcs struck from the twin suns, scorching the jagged terrain, and a Guardian crashed down beside him, sending debris flying like deadly hail. Elias rolled beneath it, scrambling to his feet as molten dust coated his hair, arms, and face. His vision blurred, but the planet's pulse thrummed in sync with his own heartbeat. Velarau had awakened fully now, and it tested him not just with brute force, but with environmental challenges, rivers of lava, crumbling cliffs, sudden vortexes of wind that threatened to hurl him into the abyss. Yet every obstacle only amplified his resolve. Humanity adapted, and adaptation was the seed of survival. From the ridge, a colossal shadow twisted the light, and Elias saw the source of the planet's fury. A guardian unlike any he had faced, an amalgamation of crystalline spikes and living magma, with wings that shimmered like fractured starlight. Its gaze, a deep red blaze, fixed upon him. Recognizing him as the anomaly, Elias felt an instinctive pull. This creature was the apex of Velarau's judgment, the test of his worth. He sprinted toward it, dodging falling shards and molten rock, and felt the first pang of exhaustion. Every muscle screamed, but he could not stop. The air itself seemed to resist him, thickening like liquid, yet he found rhythm in the chaos. Humans did not rely on size or strength alone. They relied on ingenuity, cunning, and unbreakable spirit. Elias leaped, using a crumbling rock formation as a springboard, launching himself toward the crystalline guardian. Its claws struck the air where he had been a heartbeat ago, and sparks rained down like exploding stars. He landed on its shoulder, gripping the jagged crystalline spine, fingers burning from contact yet refusing to let go. The guardian reared back, thrashing violently, yet Elias held fast, sliding along its body, striking glowing veins that pulsed like liquid fire. Each strike, each moment, reverberated with raw human determination. Velarau had never seen this kind of resilience, and perhaps it had not expected it. Below, the other guardians watched, their monstrous forms trembling with the planet's energy, uncertain how to react. Elias's audacity spread like wildfire. Humanity was not a species that crumbled under the gaze of gods or monsters. He was proof. His defiance, his agility, his intelligence, his sheer unpredictability became the argument that humans were unlike anything Velarau had ever faced. He felt the first surge of power from the crystalline guardian, a wave of psychic pressure that threatened to crush his mind. Elias gritted his teeth and focused. Humanity had always conquered despair, outwitted impossible odds, and turned adversity into triumph. He plunged forward, striking the guardian's head with a broken shard of alien metal, shattering part of its crystalline skull. Light exploded in a spectrum of impossible colors, and the creature staggered. Pain, shock, confusion, these were new sensations of primordial. The apex had not expected resistance. The apex had not expected courage. Elias leaped into the abyss as the guardian roared, narrowly avoiding a crushing blow that would have ended him. He landed on solid ground, rolling to absorb impact, and immediately readied himself for the next wave. Every fiber of his being burned, yet exhilaration surged through him. He was not just surviving. He was teaching. He was showing the ancient power of Velarau that humans were not prey, not pawns, not weaklings. They were a force born from countless generations of struggle and survival. They were proof that even a single human could alter the fate of worlds. Arian's voice rang in the distance, carried by strange currents of sound. "Human, you are rewriting the rules of Velarau." Elias acknowledged only with a defiant grin and a fist raised to the sky. Words meant nothing in this storm. Action, courage, and intellect defined worth here. And humanity had both in abundance. Another guardian, smaller but swifter, emerged from the river of molten water. Its skin shimmered like liquid mercury, eyes glinting with predatory precision. Elias dodged, rolled, and struck, improvising attacks with shards and debris. His movements were a dance of chaos and strategy. Each guardian that fell, each stagger, each hesitation, became proof of human ingenuity. Blood, sweat, and ash mingled in his hair and on his skin. Each strike sent tremors through the battlefield. The alien air tasted metallic and strange, yet it fueled him. Velarau's challenges were immense, the Guardian's titanic, and yet he pressed on. Humans did not falter in the face of impossible odds. They converted impossibility into opportunity. From the skies above, he noticed fragments of the Verithian energy lattice, floating like giant, shimmering nets of light. An idea struck him, wild and desperate. He could manipulate the lattice, redirect the energy of the planet itself against the Guardians. It was a dangerous plan. Failure meant death. But humans thrived on calculated risks. Elias sprinted toward the lattice, weaving through the monstrous forms, leaping over rivers of molten red. Sparks and energy arcs followed him as he reached out and anchored himself to the lattice. He felt the hum of raw power pulse through his veins, terrifying and intoxicating. He directed it with precision, guiding bursts of concentrated energy toward the Guardians, staggering them, splitting the ground, creating chaos where order had reigned for eons. Each Guardian toppled, slowed, or stumbled under the unorthodox assault. Elias was no longer a mere human. He was the embodiment of humanity's cunning, courage, and unbreakable will. The battlefield quaked violently as Guardians collided with each other, their confusion magnified by human ingenuity. Elias felt every tremor, every pulse, every vibration as if it were part of him. The planet itself seemed to hesitate, sensing that its ultimate judgment had been challenged, and perhaps, for the first time in millennia, it feared that humanity might be worthy. Arian descended from the sky, hovering above the chaos. His expression was a mixture of awe and disbelief. Human, you harness the chaos of Velarau itself. No being has ever done this. Elias only nodded, eyes fixed on the remaining Guardians. Victory was not guaranteed, and the planet still tested him. Yet every step, every strike, every decision proved one undeniable truth. Humans were survivors. Humans were thinkers. Humans were fighters. Humans could face the impossible and rise, unbroken. The Guardians recoiled, hesitated, and finally retreated, their massive forms retreating into the horizon. Dust and molten debris settled over the shattered battlefield. Elias stood alone, bruised, bloodied, and exhausted, yet unbowed. The sky shimmered in the aftermath, suns casting fractured light across the alien terrain. Velarau had witnessed the power of one human. One human had proven that courage, intelligence, and ingenuity could defy even the oldest, most terrifying forces of the universe. Arian approached slowly, his blue fire dimmed with reverence. Elias Ward, you have survived where none could. You have shown Velarau that your kind is worthy. Elias wiped the sweat and blood from his face, breathing heavily, muscles trembling with exhaustion. This is only the beginning, he said, his voice raw with determination. Humans do not survive by chance. We survive by proving ourselves every single day against every impossible odds. The planet seemed to pulse beneath them, a subtle acknowledgement of the challenge overcome. Yet beyond the horizon, shadows shifted. Other threats waited, ancient powers stirred, and the trials of Velarau were far from over. Elias squared his shoulders, feeling the raw energy of the world beneath his feet. Humanity had made its first mark, and nothing, no monster, no planet, no god, would erase it. He took a step forward, and the battle-scarred landscape seemed to yield to his presence. The Guardians had retreated, but they would return. Velarau had more tests to throw at him. Yet Elias smiled, teeth gritted, heart pounding with feral exhilaration. Humans never ran from challenges. Humans never surrendered. Humans never bent. Humans conquered. The silence after the retreat of the Guardians was deafening. The ground still quivered beneath Elias's boots, small tremors that whispered of unfinished trials and lurking dangers. His body burned with fatigue, muscles screaming for relief, yet his mind refused to relent. Every nerve, every instinct, every shred of human resilience pulsed through him like a living symphony. Arian descended carefully, landing lightly on the cracked and molten terrain, his blue glow casting eerie reflections on Elias's sweat-slicked face. You survived what no being has endured in centuries, the Verithian said, voice filled with a mixture of awe and measured caution. And yet, human, Velarau does not forgive arrogance. You are only at the threshold of what awaits. Elias nodded, fists still clenched. He had no illusions. The first wave was only a test, an appetizer before the real trials began. The alien planet breathed around him, alive in ways that defied comprehension, and he could feel the hum of consciousness pulsing beneath every stone, every molten river, every crystal shard that littered the battlefield. Velarau watched. Velarau judged. "Then I will continue," he said, voice raw but unwavering. "Show me what your world truly demands." Arian's gaze shifted toward the horizon, where jagged mountains tore through the sky, floating islands casting massive shadows over valleys of molten rock. "Beyond that range lies the Shattered Veil," the Varethian explained. "It is a place older than our records, infused with the remnants of the primordial architects. There, the trials shift from brute force to mind, spirit, and endurance. Few survive even a single cycle." Elias inhaled sharply, feeling the acidic tang of the planet in his lungs, the heat radiating off the molten rivers, making his vision shimmer. "Then few are human," he muttered, a grin tugging at his bloody lips. "Humans thrived on survival. Humans thrived on defying the impossible." He took his first step toward the veil, the cracked ground hissing beneath his boots. Each movement sent sparks leaping from the molten veins beneath him. He flexed his shoulders, feeling the raw power in his arms, the burning in his legs, the ache in his spine that reminded him he was alive. Pain was a language humans understood. It was proof of life, proof of resilience. The air thickened as he neared the mountains. Shadows lengthened unnaturally, stretching and twisting like living creatures. The temperature dropped sharply, cold enough to bite through the thin fabric of his suit despite the planet's earlier inferno. And then he heard it, a whisper, not a voice, not mechanical or alien, but a sound that crawled along his nerves, testing the edges of his consciousness. "You are not prepared," the whisper said, low and undulating. "No flesh born in the soul system can endure what lies ahead." Elias's fingers tightened around the handles of the dual plasma blades strapped to his back. He did not flinch. Humans had never cowered from threats. Not in caves, not in ice storms, not under fire from tyrants across their homeworld. "Then let Velarau witness," he said, "that humanity writes its own rules." The path into the Shattered Veil narrowed. Rocks jutted out at impossible angles, suspended mid-air by gravity anomalies that defied reason. Rivers of molten silver twisted between floating cliffs, their currents pulling and writhing as though alive. Elias jumped from rock to rock, sliding along sharp edges, catching his momentum and using it to vault higher, higher toward the heart of the veil. The air burned his lungs with every breath, yet his mind remained razor-focused. One misstep, one lapse of judgment, and the fall would shatter him beyond recognition. From the corner of his eye, he glimpsed movement. Creatures unlike any guardians he had faced. They were smaller, serpentine in shape, but their scales were reflective like liquid obsidian, and they moved with speed that rivaled thought itself. Eyes glowed along their sides, pulsing with intelligent malice. Elias dropped into a crouch, blades ready. The first serpent lunged, but he rolled beneath it, letting its momentum carry it past him. He slashed upward, catching the creature along its midsection. Sparks erupted. It writhed, screeching, before collapsing into the molten river below. Another two lunged simultaneously. Elias spun, slashing one with a precise flick of his wrist, kicking the other into a spire of floating rock. The spire cracked under the weight, sending molten shards raining down. The serpentine creatures hissed, circling him, learning, adapting, but Elias stayed ahead. Adaptation was human nature. Intelligence was humanity's weapon. As he advanced deeper into the veil, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. They were not just warnings. They were temptations. Try to worm into his mind, twist his memories, and bend his will. Elias felt fleeting visions of home, of green forests, blue oceans, faces of loved ones. But he pushed them aside. Humanity never surrendered its purpose to fear or nostalgia. The veil opened into a massive cavern, walls lined with luminescent crystals that pulsed in rhythm with the whispering voices. In the center floated an orb of pure energy, humming with the ancient power of Velarau's architects. The air around it shimmered, distorting reality itself. Time slowed. Space bent. Elias felt his balance falter, the ground beneath his feet uncertain. This is the core judgment. Arian's voice echoed in his mind, carried through some alien resonance. It will test not your strength, but your essence. You will face visions, illusions, and trials that challenge your very identity. Only those who are truly human in mind and spirit can survive. Elias stepped closer to the orb. The whispers intensified, now voices, some mocking, some pleading, some terrifyingly familiar. He felt himself drawn toward it, his body aching to kneel, to surrender to the overwhelming power that radiated from the core. But he did not. Humans never surrender to forces beyond their understanding. Humans never knelt to gods, monsters, or planets. Humans carved their own path. The first vision struck like a dagger to the soul. Elias saw a version of himself, broken, defeated, kneeling before the guardians, begging for mercy. The vision mirrored his own fear, his own exhaustion, magnified 1,000-fold. He shook his head violently, refusing to lie. "I am human," he roared. "I endure. I fight. I conquer." The orb pulsed violently, and the cavern shook. Shadows spilled from the walls, forming into monstrous shapes, embodiments of his deepest fears and regrets. He swung his blades with precision, slicing through illusions that sought to crush him. Every strike was an assertion of will, every movement a declaration of human strength. He felt the core shift, testing him further. A vision of a dying earth appeared before him. Cities crumbling, oceans boiling, humanity on the brink of extinction. The weight of that possibility threatened to bend his mind. Elias gritted his teeth, refusing despair. Humanity survived worse than this. Humanity adapted when worlds fell and empires burned. Humanity endured because it would not falter. Sweat and blood ran together, dripping into the glowing cracks of the cavern floor. His heart raced, yet clarity emerged. The core did not want him dead. It wanted proof. Proof that a single human could withstand every trial, conquer every challenge, and survive where others perished. Elias raised his blade high, eyes blazing. "Velarau," he shouted, voice echoing through space and time itself. "Look at me! Look at what humans endure! Look at what humans are capable of!" The orb pulsed brighter, the illusion shattering in brilliant arcs of light. The shadows screamed and dissolved. The serpentine creatures that had tracked him through the veil hissed one final time before retreating into the molten rivers. The cavern fell silent, save for the resonant hum of the core. Elias fell to one knee, muscles quivering, lungs burning, body screaming for rest. Yet he smiled through the pain. He had survived. He had proven himself. He had demonstrated the essence of humanity: courage, intelligence, resilience, and unyielding spirit. Arian descended once more, landing beside him. "Elias Ward, you have done what no human has done in millennia. You have survived the core's judgment. You have proven that humanity can thrive where all others falter. Velarau recognizes your worth." Elias wiped a streak of blood from his cheek, standing tall despite every ache. "This is only the beginning," he said, voice steady and unwavering. "Humanity does not survive by chance. Humanity survives by proving itself every day against every impossible odds. If this planet wants a species to repopulate it, it shall have the strongest, cleverest, and most unbreakable species it has ever seen." Arian's expression softened, respect radiating from his blue glowing eyes. "Then prepare yourself. Human, the planet's trials have only begun. Many more challenges, many more ancient powers, and many more impossible threats await. Velarau's survival depends on your strength, and the fate of its future life rests in human hands." Elias took a deep breath, the alien air stinging his lungs yet filling him with exhilaration. The shattered veil behind him shimmered, silent and watchful. Beyond, darker landscapes awaited, filled with horrors and wonders that defied imagination. He flexed his hands, feeling the raw energy coursing through his veins. "Then let it come," he said, stepping forward. "Humans face the impossible every day, and we do not falter. We do not kneel. We do not surrender. I am human. I endure. I conquer. I survive. Velarau will learn that humanity does not yield." The planet pulsed beneath his boots, a low, resonant heartbeat that seemed to acknowledge him. The guardians had retreated. The core had judged him, and yet the horizon stretched endlessly, filled with challenges beyond comprehension. Elias's chest heaved with exhaustion and exhilaration alike. He was the first human to step fully into Velarau's crucible, and already he had proven the truth. Humanity was not just strong. Humanity was extraordinary. A storm gathered above the distant mountains, lightning arcing unnaturally between floating islands. Shadows moved, enormous shapes stirring with alien intent. Elias did not hesitate. He gripped his blades, tightened his stance, and took the first step toward the unknown. The planet tested him. The universe tested him. And Elias Ward would meet every trial with the one thing that made humanity unparalleled: unwavering courage, unbreakable will, and a mind that would never surrender. Humans survived the impossible. Humans endured the unthinkable. And Velarau was about to witness that truth again and again, as one human walked into the heart of a planet that had never known defiance like his. The horizon shifted. Shadows grew taller. The winds of Velarau carried whispers of ancient, terrible power. And Elias walked forward, every scar, every bruise, every drop of blood a testament to the strength of a single human. He would not fail. Humanity never did. And Velarau would remember the name Elias Ward. The storm above the horizon intensified, jagged lightning splitting the twin suns' light into fractured rainbows. Elias Ward's boots crunched across the crystalline gravel, each step ringing like a challenge across the hollow valleys of Velarau. His muscles screamed, his lungs burned, yet he moved forward with the inexorable rhythm of someone who had already faced death and laughed in its face. The air tasted metallic, tinged with ozone and ash, carrying whispers that gnawed at the edges of his mind. Velarau was alive, and it was watching. It had tested him, judged him, and allowed him to survive. But now, it sought to bend him further, to press his human limits beyond recognition. Ahead, the terrain dipped into a vast chasm. Rivers of liquid silver snaked through jagged cliffs that twisted in impossible geometries. Above, floating islands rotated slowly, casting elongated shadows that warped reality itself. And moving within the shadows were creatures that defied categorization, shapes both organic and crystalline, with eyes that seemed to pierce not just the flesh, but the spirit. Elias adjusted his stance, gripping his plasma blades tighter. His breath came in sharp bursts, fogging inside the helmet, his heart pounding not from fear, but anticipation. Humans thrived in adversity, and every challenge on Velarau was exactly that. An invitation to prove the ingenuity, resilience, and indomitable that had carried a species across countless worlds. The first ambush came without warning. A colossal serpent-like creature, scales reflecting fractured sunlight, lunged from a cliffside, moving faster than instinct should have allowed. Its eyes glowed with predatory intelligence, tracking him as though it could predict his every move. Elias rolled beneath the creature, slashing upward as molten blood erupted where the plasma blades met its toughened scales. The beast shrieked, coiling, striking again and again, and each strike forced Elias to anticipate, react, and counter with speed that defied his own understanding. Every strike, every leap, every calculation reminded him that humans were never designed to dominate through sheer size or brute force alone. Humans conquered through ingenuity, through thinking several steps ahead of threats, and through the raw, unyielding courage that allowed one individual to stand where legions would falter. As the creature recoiled, Elias caught sight of the chasm below, a swirling vortex of molten crystal, its edges jagged and unforgiving. To cross it, he would have to jump from a floating rock to a thin crystalline bridge suspended above the glowing abyss. His mind calculated trajectory, momentum, and balance in milliseconds, muscles coiling like steel springs. Humans thrived on risk, and in moments like these, risk became a weapon. He leaped. Wind tore past him, molten light reflecting off the floating crystals as the abyss yawned beneath. His hands gripped the edge, scraping against sharp crystal, the scent of ozone filling his nostrils. He swung his legs forward and landed on a narrow bridge, the creature's hiss following him like a challenge. Without hesitation, Elias ran, each step calculated, aware that one slip would plunge him into the burning depths. From the shadows, smaller forms emerged, dozens of agile predators, their limbs jointed at unnatural angles, moving in perfect synchronization. They circled him, probing for weakness, testing his reflexes, daring him to falter. Elias spun, slashing through the nearest, the plasma blade singing as it cut through alien sinew. Another came from above, descending like a shadow. He ducked, rolled, and drove a blade to the creature's core. The veil itself seemed to shift around him. Gravity warped unpredictably. Floating rocks shifted positions mid-leap. Molten rivers surged with sudden intensity. Elias felt every pulse of the planet beneath him, a rhythm both alien and ancient. Humans had survived ice ages, superstorms, and collapses of civilization. He would survive this. He had to. At the far edge of the chasm, a massive gate rose, constructed of blackened stone and shimmering energy. Strange runes burned along its surface, pulsating in time with the core's earlier resonance. Beyond the gate lay the next trial. Whatever Velarau had in store would be unlike anything he had yet faced. But Elias walked forward without hesitation, each step an assertion of human resilience. The air shimmered as he passed through the gate. The landscape beyond was an endless expanse of jagged spires and floating landmasses, surrounded by a void that seemed to stretch into eternity. Strange creatures moved within the shadows, and the wind carried whispers that tugged at his thoughts, showing visions of failure, despair, and death. Yet Elias pressed on. Humans did not yield to illusions, nor did they surrender to fear. Suddenly, a massive figure emerged from a void, a construct of living metal and plasma, its form constantly shifting, with a head shaped like a crown of fractured stars. Its voice resonated in his mind, deep and sonorous. "Human, why do you persist? All who came before you fell." Elias did not flinch. Because humans do not fall. Humans rise. Humans adapt. And I am human. The construct advanced, each step sending tremors that shattered floating islands. Elias leaped across the fractured terrain, dodging energy blasts that could vaporize mountains. He struck, weaving between attacks with precision, improvising at every moment. Each movement was proof of humanity's ingenuity, each survival a testament to his courage. The fight escalated, a deadly dance across impossible terrain. Elias's muscles burned, his mind raced, and yet he smiled through the pain. Humanity had survived worlds that would crush lesser species. Humanity had thrived where empires fell. And on Velarau, he would prove that strength, intelligence, and determination were not just traits. They were destiny. Arian's voice rang through the psychic resonance of the planet. "You defy the very essence of Velarau, human. Few have moved as you have. Few could, and yet you persist." Elias did not answer with words. He leapt again, landing on the construct's shoulder, striking at glowing conduits that pulsed with destructive energy. Sparks erupted. The creature roared in frustration. Humans did not rely on brute strength. They relied on creativity, on exploiting openings, on the willingness to risk everything in the name of survival. Below, the abyss churned with molten crystal. Around him, shadows coalesced into predatory forms. But Elias's mind remained clear, calculating, anticipating, improvising. Every strike, every dodge, every leap, every slash was human ingenuity in motion, a language the planet and its ancient powers had never encountered. The construct stumbled. Its attacks faltered. Elias saw the opening and drove both plasma blades deep into the central conduit of its chest. A blinding eruption of energy threw him backward, landing in a crouch on solid ground. The construct collapsed, sparks and molten energy leaking from its broken form. Elias rose, panting, chest heaving, body screaming in exhaustion. He looked out over the horizon. Spires of crystal, molten rivers, floating islands stretching endlessly into the alien sky. The planet still watched. The trials had only begun, and the ancient powers of Velarau stirred in anticipation. Yet Elias smiled through the pain. Humans thrived in the impossible. Humans endured the unimaginable. Humans conquered. And Velarau would soon understand that humanity did not simply survive. It dominated, adapted, and transformed every challenge into proof of its indomitable spirit. Ahead, shadows deepened. New trials awaited. Ancient powers shifted, and unimaginable creatures stirred. But Elias Ward, battered, bloodied, and unbroken, stepped forward with the confidence of an entire species behind him. The universe had thrown impossibility at humanity countless times. Humanity had survived, And Elias would ensure that Velarau, no matter how ancient, no matter how powerful, learned the same truth. Humans endure. Humans adapt. Humans conquer. The air above Velarau thickened with the heavy pulse of the planet itself, humming to the floating islands and molten rivers like a heartbeat older than time. Elias Ward stood at the precipice of the final trial, battered and bloodied, his body aching from relentless battles with the Guardians, the serpentine predators, and the ever-shifting terrain. Sweat and grime coated his face, mixed with streaks of dried blood, but his eyes burned with unwavering resolve. Humans survived the impossible. Humans endured the unthinkable. And here, on a planet that had tested civilizations older than memory, one human was about to prove that no force in the universe could deny humanity's strength. Ahead, a colossal structure rose in the molten depths. The citadel of the architects, its walls crystalline and black as obsidian, pulsating with the same energy that had powered the Guardians and the core. Strange glyphs glimmered like living fire, shifting, changing, as if the citadel itself were aware, anticipating, and judging him. Wind tore through the chasm, carrying whispers of ancient voices, some pleading, some mocking, some impossible to understand. Arian's blue fire glowed softly beside him. Human, this is the final crucible. Within the citadel lies the heart of Velarau. It will challenge not only your body, but your mind, your soul. Few have entered, none have left. If you fail, the planet dies, and all its life is lost. Elias clenched his fists, the plasma blades at his back humming faintly. Failure is not an option. Humanity does not fail. Humanity survives. Humanity conquers. He stepped forward, each footfall resonating against the crystalline ground, echoing like a drumbeat across the vast expanse. The entrance to the citadel opened as if sensing his intent, a gaping maw of shimmering energy. He crossed the threshold, and the world seemed to fold around him. Gravity twisted unpredictably. The walls shifted like liquid metal. Shadows moved independently of the light, forming shapes that writhed with consciousness. The air tasted of ozone and iron, thick and alive, pressing against his chest with every inhale. From the darkness, figures emerged. Not guardians, not the serpentine predators, but entities that seemed to exist between matter and thought. They were humanoid yet impossible, limbs stretching beyond perception, eyes that glowed with the knowledge of eons. Their voices were not heard but felt, vibrating through his bones. You have survived our trials, human, they intoned in unison. But to claim Velarau as your own, you must prove more than strength or courage. You must prove wisdom, compassion, and the spark that separates your species from all others. Elias stepped forward, unwavering. I am human. I endure. I think. I feel. I adapt. I conquer. Humanity has survived plagues, wars, famine, ice, fire, and death itself. We survive because we are clever, brave, and unyielding. We endure because we refuse to kneel to fear or despair. We conquer because nothing can break our will. The entities shifted, examining him, probing, testing. Illusions formed around him, visions of failure and despair. Cities of humanity burning, loved ones lost, civilizations erased by indifferent stars. The air grew heavy with grief, trying to bend him, to twist his mind, to shatter his resolve. Elias gritted his teeth and pressed forward. Illusions are not reality. Fear is not truth. Humanity survives by standing against the impossible, by proving its worth when all else has fallen. I will not falter. I will not break. I will endure. The entities recoiled, their forms flickering as though the sheer force of his determination was altering the very fabric of the citadel. The floor beneath him cracked and shifted, molten veins pulsing as though the planet itself were a living being. From the depths rose the final guardian, more massive than any before, an amalgamation of all Velarau's energy and ancient power, its form twisting and folding like impossible geometry, eyes burning with a light that seemed to pierce the soul. Elias adjusted his stance, plasma blades at the ready, body coiled like a spring. Then let it come, he said, muscles screaming in anticipation. If this is Velarau's ultimate challenge, I will face it. I will prove that humanity does not falter. Humanity does not kneel. Humanity conquers the impossible. The guardian advanced, its steps shaking the citadel, its roar of force that bent the air. Energy surged along its body, twisting and fracturing the crystalline walls. Elias leaped, dodging an arm that could have crushed mountains, slashing at a glowing conduit along the creature's side. Sparks erupted, molten light scattering like fractured stars. He darted across the battlefield, weaving through shifting shadows, leaping onto jagged platforms, sliding along glowing veins of energy. Each move was precise, calculated, improvisational, a dance of instinct and intellect. Humans survive by adapting, by thinking faster, by acting smarter. The Guardian roared again, and Elias met it with relentless defiance. The citadel pulsed with energy, responding to his courage. Each strike, each maneuver, resonated through the very structure, shifting the battlefield in his favor. He drove both blades into the Guardian's chest, piercing the heart of its energy core. A blinding eruption of light threw him back, sending him skidding across the molten floor. He rose, breathing hard, limbs trembling, body screaming. Yet he grinned. Humans never yielded. Humans never surrendered. Humans conquered. From an explosion of energy, the Guardian faltered, staggering, and finally, it collapsed into molten ruin. The citadel quaked violently, and the air shimmered with the planet's pulse. Elias stood at the center of the battlefield, panting, bloodied, yet unbroken. The entities that had tested him approached once more, their forms solidifying into humanoid shapes that radiated calm authority. "You have faced the impossible, human," they said. "You have endured where none could. You have proven that your species possesses strength, courage, and intelligence unmatched in this universe. Velarau recognizes your worth." Arian appeared beside him, awe and reverence in his gaze. "Elias Ward, the planet itself acknowledges your triumph. You have conquered the trials, survived the judgment, and proven humanity's place in this universe. Velarau will thrive because of you." Elias nodded, chest heaving, eyes scanning the horizon. The citadel, the floating islands, the molten rivers, all pulsed with new energy, as though the planet itself had been reborn. "This is not the end," he said quietly. "Humanity does not end. We endure. We rebuild. We conquer. Velarau will flourish because humans will teach it how to survive, how to thrive, and how to endure the impossible." The wind shifted, carrying a scent of ozone and life, fresh and promising. Shadows receded. The floating island steadied, and a gentle warmth spread across the terrain. The planet had judged him, tested him, and in doing so, had acknowledged humanity's indomitable spirit. He looked back at the paths he had traveled. The shattered veil, the molten chasms, the battle-scarred landscape, each scar a testament to resilience, each crater a proof of courage. Humans thrive where others failed, survive where others perished, and Elias had proven it. Arian placed a hand on his shoulder, the blue glow of his skin radiating calm strength. "The planet is yours to guide, human. Its future rests with your hands, your decisions, your wisdom. Humanity has earned the right to shape Velarau's destiny." Elias gazed across the horizon, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on him like a mantle he was born to wear. "Then we will not fail," he said. "We will endure, adapt, and thrive. Humanity will breathe life into this world, and Velarau will remember that we are not just survivors. We are conquerors, thinkers, and creators. We are human." The citadel hummed softly, the planet's energy resonating in harmony with him. The Guardians were gone, the predators receded, the shadows of fear and doubt dissipated. Elias could feel life beginning to stir across Velarau, a faint green sprout emerging along the edges of molten rivers, silver trees unfurling in the distance, and rivers of luminous water flowing anew. The planet itself had recognized the spark of humanity and responded in kind. Elias fell to his knees, exhausted, limbs trembling, yet a fierce satisfaction burned within him. He had faced death, impossible odds, ancient powers, and the judgment of a sentient world, and he had survived. Humanity had survived. And now, Velarau had a chance to thrive because of the resilience, courage, and ingenuity of a single human being. From the skies, the twin suns of Velarau shone down, casting fractured light across the terrain, illuminating the floating islands, molten rivers, and reborn forests. A gentle wind carried the scent of new life. The planet had awakened fully, and with Elias at its center, it found a champion unlike any it had ever known. Arian's voice broke the silence, calm and measured. Elias Ward, humanity has proven itself. The trials are complete. The planet acknowledges your victory. Now you will guide Velarau's rebirth. Elias rose slowly, each movement a testament to unyielding determination. He gazed across the world, feeling the pulse of the planet beneath his feet, the energy of life surging around him. Humans survived the impossible. Humans endured the unimaginable. Humans conquered, and Velarau would remember. With a final, resolute breath, Elias stepped forward into the heart of the reborn planet. Every scar, every wound, every trial had been proof of humanity's unmatched strength. The Guardians, the Predators, the Core, and even Velarau itself had witnessed it. Humans do not falter. Humans do not kneel. Humans endure, adapt, and conquer. The horizon stretched endlessly before him, filled with challenges yet to come, mysteries yet to unravel, and life yet to flourish. And Elias Ward, humanity's champion, walked forward with unwavering purpose, ready to fulfill the destiny he had claimed, not for himself, but for all of humankind. The planet pulsed beneath his feet, vibrant and alive. Humanity had arrived. Humanity had triumphed. Humanity had begun anew. And the universe, in all its vast and different expanse, had no choice but to acknowledge it. Velarau's first human was not a conqueror by chance. He was the embodiment of a species that refused to fail, a species that would endure where all others faltered, a species that would shape the future world with courage, intelligence, and indomitable will. Elias lifted his gaze to the twin suns, feeling the warmth, the light, and the endless possibilities that stretched before him. Every step forward was a promise. Humanity would not only survive Velarau, it would thrive, grow, and flourish against every impossible challenge, rewriting the destiny of a planet that had never known defiance like this. And in the silence that followed, the planet itself seemed to exhale, acknowledging the triumph of one human, who had proven that the spark of humanity was unstoppable, unbreakable, and eternal. The trials had ended. The Guardians had fallen. The Core had been conquered. Velarau was alive, vibrant, and waiting. Elias Ward smiled, bloody but unbroken, ready to breathe life into a world that would remember the first human who had dared to claim it, not through force alone, but through courage, intellect, resilience, and the indomitable heart of humanity itself. And so, humanity began its legacy on Velarau, a world that had tested everything and found one human, and through him an entire species worthy. The future stretched endlessly before him, and for the first time on an alien world, humanity's light shone fully, unchallenged, and eternal. The universe had witnessed the power of one human, and it would never forget.